All right, we are now here with Patty. Patty, it's good to have you on.
Thank you.
Do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Okay. My name is Patty Cordry. I've been a long-time member of Chapelwood. I was a school teacher and counselor for almost 40 years in Spring Branch, and now I'm retired and mostly do volunteer things.
That's awesome. That's great. So, kind of moving into Collegiate Challenge, do you want to give us just like a 3,000-foot view of what Collegiate Challenge is and what y'all do?
Okay. Collegiate Challenge is a mentoring program that combines mentors primarily from Chapelwood, but from other places too, with seniors at Northbrook High School, and who have asked for help with their college application process. Most of these kids are first-generation students going to college. They don't always have family members who can help them with the process. So we meet once a week during the school year to help them with that application process, financial aid, scholarships, those kinds of things.
That's awesome. Yeah, Collegiate Challenge, it does a really cool service of being able to come in and help these students who are desiring to get into college and have everything they need to get there, but maybe don't have the same resources as other students have of helping with essays and the whole application process.
Applications and all those kinds of things.
Yeah, because
it gets more complicated every year.
Yeah, I don't think I could get into college today.
Yeah, I get that. I have 3 younger brothers, and watching them, 2 of them are now in college, and I'm like watching them and helping them apply. I'm like, this is way different, like even 3-4 years later after I did it. Like, so it is constantly changing.
That's exactly right, and gets more complicated all the time.
Yeah. Well, we're gonna want to we're gonna move through this golden circle approach, starting with the why behind Collegiate Challenge. Okay. And maybe you can help break it down of, why does Collegiate Challenge do what it does? Like, what was that reason for starting it that people saw?
Yeah. The 2 other Chapelwood members were actually the impetus for starting Collegiate Challenge, Janet Sims and Pat Waldrop. And it was way back 1999, 2000, somewhere around there. Pat was a school counselor at Northbrook High School, and Janet was an English teacher at Springwoods High School. And what they were both noticing was that they had some really capable students coming through their classrooms, but when they would talk to them about going to college, they either said, well, they didn't think they would be able to go, or they were going to go to community college, and the more they talked to them about it, the more they came to understand part of that reason is those students really did not know how to go through the whole process of applying for a 4-year university and did not know that there might be scholarships or grants out there to help pay for it. So it came out of that. And for a while, just a group of students who wanted to work with Collegiate Challenge met with some mentors. Pat and Janet started recruiting people from Chapelwood, and it grew out of that. And has now, Chapelwood still works with the Collegiate Challenge at Northbrook High School, but the Spring Ranch District has kind of picked up the whole concept, and now there are Collegiate Challenge groups at all the high schools.
Wow. So that's amazing, and it is so cool, and I'm sure it's very rewarding to be able to go in as a volunteer and to be able to help these students actually get to college in that moment where they actually get accepted somewhere and they're going off. I'm sure that brings a lot of joy.
That's a kind of an exciting time for everybody. And it is fun to see students who didn't think they were going to leave Houston to go to school or to further their education to end up graduating from Texas A&M or graduating from University of Texas or Rice and moving on into careers that they had not considered before.
I think just jumping in here,
Yeah.
I think what's interesting on the why of Pat Waldrop and Janet Sims in those early days, a couple of things. The students trusted them enough to give them the real answers as to why they were not thinking about going, not just, oh, I'm not interested, I'm going to do something else, but they could really say, no, this is the challenge that I face. So I think that says a lot. And for any teachers or educators that are listening in, it's once again just a reminder of this trust and vulnerability and rapport that you're building with students. And then I can remember when I was a member of Chapelwood I joined in 2001, and Janet Sims invited me to come over and speak about banking at Springwoods High School. And what a drive that both Janet and Pat and so many others have had for so many years, including you, Patty.
Well, and it is. And like you were saying, Melissa, there's also, it's not always like an instant smooth move between a mentor and a student, because there does need to be a trust established. Even sometimes it can take the entire year of working with a student before you find out, well, I can't do this because, and there's some big issue going on that they're not just going to tell you on the first meeting or even the first semester of meetings. And so as mentors, we have to be aware of that as well, that these are students that in certain cases have very different lives than the one I grew up with. And so it takes a while to get to know them and for them to be able to trust you.
Yeah, that's awesome. And it really is, it's very relational, which is very cool. And it's very...
Absolutely.
For these students to have someone out there that cares enough to come and to walk alongside them through this process I'm sure means a lot and means the world to some of these students. So kind of moving from that why of this issue that was identified of these students needing help, and we've kind of hit on it already, but how did that move from, okay, we know that these students need help getting into college. We know they don't understand maybe all the applications out there and all of the different scholarships out there. How did that move from that to
what it
is today?
Yeah.
Like, what was that transition? How did y'all kind of brainstorm and figure out, okay, we need to be doing a tutoring on Monday nights, all that?
It kind of grew organically. I mean, it started out Thursday nights in Janet's English classroom at Springwoods High School. And then it was not particularly pairing any given person with a student. We just sort of worked with them and found out what they needed. A lot of SAT practices, and just again, the more you saw them, the more you found out what they needed. But as it turned out, Janet ended up working at another school. Things kind of moved to Northbrook High School, and at that point started to work with the counselors at the school and identifying students and who might be good fits for Collegiate Challenge. And it got a little more formal in that sort of sense. As we talked to people in the district or other counselors, what is it that you see your kids lacking, and how can we fill in those gaps for them? So it sort of just evolved over time, and what are the needs, and how can we meet them the best?
That's all.
Yeah, I think for I don't know what the viewership is, but for like folks who may be listening from other churches, it was that collaboration of really dedicated Chapelwood members who were willing to ask, what's the next step?
Yeah,
what do we need to do?
do?
And then the collaboration really with the school district.
And very receptive people in the school district.
Yeah, Linda Buckman and
yes.
so many others. But
and by then, Pat Waldrop was in the administration building, so she helped very much with that too. And but yeah, a lot of collaboration with the school district, and talking to those people, and a collaboration with your school to get permission to have the room, to have the space. To as over the years, schools have been able to add college counselors, maybe one per building, one or two, and those people have been invaluable in being our liaisons with the school. to be able to coordinate with school resources and have those resources available.
That's great. So you talk about collaboration with the schools. Was there any sort of collaboration or feedback you were getting from students as well, maybe, that had been through the program? Or was it mostly with the schools that you were kind of figuring out what the next step needed to be?
For a good long time, mostly with the schools. But we have, not every year, I'll have to say that, but occasionally done surveys with the students.
Okay.
What worked for you? What didn't work for you? What did you wish happened? And now it's gone on long enough that we have students who very much are willing to come and be a speaker for our kids who have graduated, who have in different careers. We usually have an end-of-the-year dinner every year, and our speaker at that dinner is a graduate of Collegiate Challenge, and they'll talk about their journey past high school and what they're doing now, and really an encouragement for the other students who are currently in high school.
Yeah, that's great. So if someone was to walk in today and was like, I'm going to go and I want to go see what this Collegiate Challenge thing's about. They show up on a Monday night at one of these high schools. What are they going to see? What is that layout going to look like?
Okay, they're going to come into a room where we all meet together, which is another, I think, real plus for Collegiate Challenge. Mentors aren't out there on their own. I'm only going to meet with this student and it's just me and them because I don't know what to do then. But we'll meet as a big group first and go over any kind of maybe new scholarship opportunities throughout there, or if there is a speaker that comes in to talk about, sometimes we'll have college reps from different colleges. And then connect up with your own mentees, usually one or two, and the rest of the evening, then there are computer rooms, labs available to where you can work individually with your student on their own applications, on their college searches, on their career searches, those kinds of things. But I think one of the strengths of Collegiate Challenge is having the mentors all in the same space at the same time with the students, because if I have a student who has a question about engineering, I'm not an engineer, I'm an educator. But there is somebody who is a mentor who is, and I can say, okay, help me out with this, or send them over to talk to that person for a little bit. Mentors don't need to feel like they need to know everything about applications or financial aid or anything like that. We kind of learn together with our students, and there's always support there to help you out if you're not sure.
That's great. So with that note, if someone was, let's say someone's listening out there and they're like, this sounds really neat, I want to get involved.
Yes.
What does that look like?
What they would need to do with our Collegiate Challenge is at Northbrook, but talk with Suzanne Harder here at Chapelwood. She's the Director of Serving Ministries, and she also this year is really coordinating Collegiate Challenge. And just let her know you're interested in being a mentor. Mentors need to apply as a mentor not only with Spring Branch, with Chapelwood and with Spring Branch. To work in any of the Spring Branch schools, you have to have applied as a volunteer for Spring Branch School District. And then she would be able then, at this time of year, students and mentors are pretty well matched, but it would be beginning in the fall semester, starting this spring, then she would be able to have you on the list and you would be able to begin with us in the fall, in August. And there would be a training for new mentors, so you don't feel like you're being just thrown out there and have to figure it out. There'll be a training held before the school year starts next year, and then mentors and mentees would be assigned.
Yeah.
And even, I think if someone was serious about volunteering, they could maybe attend the year-end banquet.
Sure, absolutely.
Just to see some of those stories.
See and hear some of the stories. They could come visit on a Monday night, just let us know, and we would welcome them there and kind of, like you said, observe what's going on and see if that works for them.
That's awesome.
But I think we've had some fabulous mentors over the years, and just really wonderful people, and many return year after year.
How many do you have that have been with you almost since the beginning?
I would say there's probably 5 or 6 that have been there that long.
That's
and then
incredible.
I would say there's another good many who've done 2, 3, 4 years.
Yeah. I was a solid 1 year volunteer.
That's okay.
And it was
Those
rewarding.
people
I
are
enjoyed it.
important
Yeah,
too.
that's so just to let you know, it doesn't need to be a long-term thing.
No,
but
it does not.
Yeah,
Not at
being
all.
in a group together and not feeling like you had to carry the whole load as a mentor was really great.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and I've done the same thing. I mean, I've been with them for a good long time, but there's been a couple years in or out of there when life happens in other kind of ways and needed to step back, and then went back into it later.
Yeah, that's awesome. All right, well, this was a great section here about just talking about the why, how, and what behind Collegiate Challenge. We're going to move into our next section, or we're going to be talking about if we were to apply to college today,
Sweet.
Oh,
would
no.
we be able to get in?
I don't think so.
So we're
Let's
going to
do
take a little
this,
bit of a break.
Evan.
Howdy, and thanks for watching. Please leave a like and comment on this video. And if you aren't subscribed already to the Your Wide channel, go ahead and subscribe. Also, don't forget to turn on all notifications so you don't miss any of our videos. If anything during the video piqued your interest, go ahead and check out the descriptions in the link below. Go and find your why, people.